Well, hello there. Can you believe we're at the end of another year and we're getting ready to turn to 2023? Man, it just seems like yesterday was January, but the time just flies by so quickly. So I wanted to end this year with a quick note because there's some resources in this newsletter, but I thought there were a couple things I could communicate via video as well. So here we go. We'll keep it quick. Number one is one of the things that's important is we got to look back to report the 2022 activity. For many of you, that's a tax return. And to do that, we need to make sure some of our diligences are done. There's some great tips in the newsletter about getting your assets ready, like inventory. And don't forget, many of you saw an influx in inventory because of the supply chain catching up. But just because you have more inventory doesn't mean you're going to pay less in taxes. So you got to count your inventory to make sure it's accurate so we can report it and pay the appropriate amount of taxes. So that's one thing I'd encourage you to do if you have a few minutes before the end of this year to make sure your inventory is right. But other than that, there's some other logistics that we just sometimes forget about. Like, let me just throw them out for you. Number one, if you're an S corporation owner and your company pays for the health insurance premiums of the owner, that has to be reported through payroll on the W-2. Well, most of your payroll providers want that information to come before the end of the year. So don't wait till January to do it. Add up those premiums, call them and say, we're an S corporation, we pay the owner's premiums, and we need to report it on the W-2. They should know how to handle it. But just report that to them. If you're not an S corp owner and you have like personal use of company car that you report to payroll, it's very similar. You got to get that called in and get that reported. So make sure those things are all taken care of for the end of the year. Another tip, how about if you're an AIM user, AIM users, you know that system is very time sensitive for running reports, especially as it relates to inventory, rentals, accounts receivable, accounts payable. So get your data ready, make sure somebody's there to run those reports the last day of the year before we do anything into the new year. A new thing like forward dating any transactions or anything. That's what I mean by anything in the new year. But when you're running those reports, we've heard from some folks that they're having trouble with the inactive locations and it not showing proper data. So any chance you get to choose a location, choose all locations including inactive location, we can sort it out from there. And finally, another one that is on the newsletter is 1099 reporting. No big changes this year. Just remember that any services that you paid more than $600 for, as of a couple years, go on the 1099 NEC, not the MISC. And the MISC is for rent and attorneys and things like that. We sent out a newsletter a week ago, so check out that newsletter. It'll give you all the ins and outs of 1099s. But we would just want you to be ready to report those as well. And finally, for those that haven't heard, the 1099Ks are going to be coming out more prevalent this year because the processing companies have to send them. Please make sure that we get a copy of those. We want to make sure that we're tying down your sales and that there's going to be no issue if the IRS tries to add up those 1099s versus what reported sales. So those are just a few logistics so we can look back and report what needs to be reported for 2022. But now let's talk about looking forward. I'm always excited to talk to people about looking forward because having a plan is one of the best things that you can do to make sure you set yourself up for success as a business. Whether that's a strategic plan, strategic marketing, strategic sales, or if it's a budget. I know a budget sounds kind of nerdy, but a budget is a great way to plan for an anticipated income and then plan for how you're going to spend your money on expenses. If you think about it, that's more than just for you. That's more to give direction to your salespeople and give people targets and goals so they know where they're heading. You know, both of those things, strategic or a plan or a budget, require you to work on your business, and that's many times difficult to do when you're working in the store or at your day-to-day operations. So I'd encourage you to get out. How about attend a trade show? What about NASMD in March? Or how about NAM in April? Those are great places to go get education, see the products, get a refresher, and synergistically you can sometimes feel better and talk to other retailers and find out what's going on. So I'd encourage you to do that. But listen, that's enough. Your time is valuable. I appreciate you watching this. Make sure you're ready for year end. But I want to tell you this. We do really appreciate the partnership we have with you, and we look forward to working with you in 2023. So from all of us here at FKCo, we just wish you a very happy holiday and a healthy 2023. So long for now.